was gonna wait to tell this story. What I'd like to do is I'm gonna talk through some of the ways that we integrate PCM into the culture and some of the specific ways we integrate PCM into the culture. And then I'd like to give everyone the opportunity to do some Q&A with Rebecca and Susan. So that's kind of what we're gonna do over the next 45 to 50 minutes. So in February, we had a young man who came to us who had gone through 2 schools in the last year and a half, and was having what they called behavior programs, had even been diagnosed with ADHD, and was on some type of medicine for that ADHD. Now, my background is I was a clinical social worker for many years, so I was a therapist, so I know a few things about ADHD. When we get the slide up here, one of our core components is that we teach passion-based learning. And what is passion-based learning? When the first thing that we ask a student is, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? And then we take that passion and then we build in all the other academic components, such as math, reading, literacy, history, whatever academic components there are, okay? Yeah, I am the head of school here, so you know, hey. So what happened is with this child, he was into parkour. Now, does anybody know what parkour is? Like 4 people know what that is. Okay. Parkour is basically the art of running and jumping off stuff. And like if you've seen 007, you know, you run up a gate and then you jump over and then you jump down and you do a tumble. And he'd been told that he could do parkour on his own time after he'd done all these studies. Well, the first thing that hit us in the face was a lot of rebel base. 99% sure, right? Kinesthetic, wants to be movement-oriented, wants to, you know, learning style is the group to group, you know, do with his clique and with his crew. So our first question to him after parkour is, how can you start to do parkour? And so he taught us how to do parkour. How could you build a parkour thing, course, a parkour course? What would that look like? And so he starts building parkour courses. Are other people around the planet doing parkour? Will you research this and then share this with us? So now all of a sudden, this student is reading. This student is doing math. This student's learning how to research. And parkour is the center of this. It's his passion. We do culminations to where students all share what their passion is with the entire student body. And he's doing this explanation of parkour and how he can build it and measurements, and he looks over at the middle school teacher and he's like, that's math, isn't it? Because he was pretty anti-math, right? Because, you know, the directive channel with him never worked and never will. So what's interesting is because we knew that he was a rebel base and we knew his learning style and we were able to engage the passion-based learning with the PCM, and we're not going to, Nate's going to talk a little bit about this tomorrow. I won't spend too much time talking about this component. The self-efficacy, building his self-efficacy, he was able to go up 2 to 3 grades of reading level. He's doing complicated math, all because we were able to engage him. And then what we do after that at MUSE is we do have state standards that we have to abide by. But now that he is engaged, and now that he's academically engaged, we can now layer in state standard stuff because he trusts us, he's engaged, and he knows that he can always do his academics around his passion. And so now we've kind of taken down his defense mechanism of, I don't want to do this just because I'm supposed to, or just because you told me to. The interesting thing about this story is his mother is also a rebel base, and she conveniently lost/forgot to give him his medication. And she came in 2 to 3 weeks into here at MUSE, and she's like a little bit freaking out. It's like, I forgot to give him his medication. I hope he's okay. And we're like, well, have you had any problems? No. Has he been oppositional about coming to school? No. And I went through kind of his temperament with her, and I'm like, let's just continue to lose the medication. So that was February, so this is July, almost August, and he's still not on any medication. PCM integration. How do we integrate PCM into the culture? Which is what the dream that Rebecca and Susan had from day one. It's been a growing process for us to get there. We have a concept that we call the learning plan. And each student at MUSE gets a specific and individualized learning plan. And our students go from the ages of 2 to the 8th grade. Next year, we will open our high school. And everyone gets a learning plan that has these 5 components. Passion-based learning, what I spoke to you about earlier. What are you interested in? What are you passionate about? Self-efficacy, my belief in my ability to be successful. We're teaching kids how to be open, resourceful, and persistent each day. In our middle school, students are asked at the beginning of the week, how are you going to be open, resourceful, and persistent this week? And at the end of the week, they're asked to document how they were open, resourceful, and persistent that week. Sustainability, you have all heard from Evelina, and you've gotten Evelina's emails about how we do sustainability here. All of our children learn about the environment. All of our children are learning about recycling and composting. Next year we'll have solar panels, and we'll create 80% of our own energy. Each student, each classroom will have a device to where they can track the energy that we save. The students learn how to they learn how to plant, nurture, harvest, digest, compost, and they learn that entire life cycle through our Seed to Table program. Next year, we will grow 80% of our own fruits and vegetables. And so every child has a sustainability aspect. And then the academic piece, the one that I'm super knowledgeable about, the math and science stuff right there. What we did at MUSE is we took the California state standards and we created our own, what we call MUSE milestones that are written for our own academic standards. And we can do that because we are an independent private school. And then you'll notice the process communication model. And this little guy's name is Malachi. Tamika is running around here. His mom is running around here somewhere. Now, every one of these components is balanced with the other component. Neither one of these is more or less than the other one. It is a balanced approach. It's an integrated approach. And I can't do PCM with a student if I'm not doing efficacy. I can't teach them sustainability if I'm not using their correct currency and their correct channel. I can't teach a kid complex math if I don't understand how to use the correct channel and put he or she in the correct learning environment. So one of the things that we do, you saw in the slide that Rebecca said this is what we do every single day. We do PCM every single day, but we do integrated PCM to where it's integrated into our entire learning plan. So one of the things that we do is we are integrating this not only with the students, we're integrating this with the parents. So if you're a parent at MUSE, you get a free one-day PCM class for every single parent that comes. And I think 80% of our parents last year took this one-day PCM class. Okay, it's rolled in as a part of when they get introduced at the beginning of the year. We say, hey, look, here's the schedule for the year, and here's when the dates that you can do that. This year, we have 3 PCM trainers. Where is Juliana? Is she here? Juliana, will you please just stand up and sit down real quick? Because I know you. Hey, there you go. Thank you very much. Juliana and Rebecca and myself will be teaching those classes. It's amazing when you do a parent-teacher conference and you're all speaking PCM. It's amazing when a parent comes up to me and they're struggling and they're saying, look, my son is really in distress. How do I get him out of distress? Well, I hand him Joe and Judy's book and walk away, or I talk to him a little bit. But it's when you have that common language, it's absolutely insane how it changes the culture. And these PCM classes, I've got parents who have attended the same class 2, 3, 4 times. And I always joke, Susan and Rebecca attended 3 or 4 of my own 5-day trainings, and probably 2 or 3 of Nate's 5-day trainings. I don't know what that says about us, Nate. Every month, we have a coffee with Jeff, and that's just an open forum. We do that with efficacy, and we do that with passions, and every month we do that with PCM. So I sit right here, and sometimes Rebecca, if she's around, she's here, and any parent who wants to come in and talk about PCM with their students, we're open to do that. And again, that's no charge. It's just an hour coffee in the morning. It's fascinating what that does for the culture. And parents can start getting that stuff off. And we're talking about bedtime routines. We're talking about how to get along with mom or dad, the parent that's not there. We're talking about, my son had some problems at his Taekwondo classes. So it transcends just being here at MUSE. I already spoke. PCM is included in every child's learning plan, and I'm going to talk specifically about what that looks like. We discount the core and advanced training for all the parents here. And some of them will volunteer, and some of them will do that. If you're a parent and you want to do a core and advanced training, we will make that happen for you. Okay? Some of you I visited with last night. We are a tuition-based school, and some said, well, how can they afford to come to the school? Well, if you fit with our mission and you want to come to MUSE, we will find a way for you to come to MUSE. We have an excellent fundraising component. And so we do the same thing with parents. If you want to come to that training, you can come to that training. Next year, we're creating this Dropbox process to where every teacher and every parent who has gone through the PCM will have access to a Dropbox with that nameplate. So everyone got their nameplates that says what you all have seen these before. This will be in a Dropbox account for everyone at MUSE, so you can quickly access that. We've done that before on a little ring binder where everyone had access, and the teachers had access through Dropbox before. But the next year, everyone in the school will be able to see who is what, and we have a sign-off process for that, so that we don't break any confidentiality rules, because I'm really good at following all those rules. So this is what it looks like for the parents with PCM. Questions or comments about that? Yeah.
Just for you to be able to see everybody's face and stuff for the other parents involved? Or
Yes. Teachers and parents, staff.
Not
Not the
the students.
students, correct. Yeah. So if I'm getting ready to go and have a meeting with Juliana, I can go to that Dropbox account. Okay, this is where she is. This is her 5th floor, and so I can prepare myself. We've done that before with paper and things, but we're taking it to a little bit more sophisticated level. Any other questions? All right, now let's go into the teachers. We can go to the next slide. Integration for the staff. Every staff member here goes through a complete 5-day training. And so it doesn't matter if you're the receptionist, if you're the seat-to-table person, the 1st grade teacher, the math specialist. Every person goes through the entire 5-day PCM training. It's mandatory. We used to get pushback in year 1, 2, or 3, and now it's just become a part of the culture. And now what's fascinating is teachers and staff are excited to do that. And they're like, how come I have to wait? I just got hired. How come I have to wait a month? Okay? But every staff member goes through that. We have built PCM into all the staff evaluations. And there are things on there like, how are you managing your distress? Are you creating an optimum learning environment for your children? And going into the next one, this year we set up PCM refreshers throughout the school year where we'll do a little practice. We'll do a little channel practice, currency practice, invitation out of 1st and 2nd degree practice. And so it's built into the evaluations, and it's built into our component every single month of the year through our what we call professional learning, PD. What does that PD stand for? Professional Learning Days. Professional development. There you go. Because as some of you know, when you teach a 3-day class to a group of people, if you don't have any follow-up, you will forget in a week or 2. So it's right there in front of everyone every single month, every single day. And I'm going to go over our accountability plans that we've created over the last couple years. I'm going to walk you through that, what that looks like for staff. And then again, we have the Dropbox nameplate for staff and parents. Okay? One of the unique things, and this just happened with a staff member yesterday, this is what you may hear from a staff member at MUSE. She came up to me and she says, Jeff, I'm such in an I'm okay, you're not okay place right now. I've got to get out of this. I really just want to put on my thinker attacker and go after these people. And she was able to talk through that, but she was able to see that for herself. Not that she did that, but she was able to understand and slow herself down. And you'll hear staff at MUSE constantly speaking and using that language and being able to say, I'm in distress right now. I can't get out of distress right now. I can't get my needs met. Or I need to go get my needs met. Can I go take 30 minutes and do something kinesthetic or get in my own space? So this is our integration for staff. Any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
So is the staff doing the 5 days, practical question, 5 days in a row, or do you do it like in
We space it out. So you'll probably do, like this year we have a 3-day in August, and then they'll do the 2-day in like October. Yeah.
You do the 3 days in a row
Yes, we do the 3 days in a row. Yeah.
in summertime.
No, we do it throughout the school year. Yeah, so we'd have to bring in substitutes and things like that. So if there are new staff members or things like that during the school year, yeah. Yeah, good question. There's lots of little logistics that we have to attend to. Yeah. Any other questions about integration with the staff? Yes, ma'am. The substitutes are not, no. How does what work?
When the substitutes come in and they're not trained, how do they effectively interact with the kids?
Can I repeat that? Yeah, so the question was, how do the substitutes effectively interact with the kids when you have a substitute not trained in PCM? Well, it kind of works in the reverse. The students effectively interact with the substitute. And so what happens is when we have a substitute, we will never have that substitute in that classroom with those students. You know, Juliana may interact with them. Tamika may spend some time with them. So like in a traditional classroom, when I was a kid's like, all right, a substitute. I can't wait. I got this person all day long. Not at MUSE. That won't happen at MUSE. There'll be constantly different people interacting. So, yes, sir. So I'm going to get into that as I go through the our learning plan and how we grow it through ages. Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, next slide, please. So our early childhood PCM. Now these are kids from the ages of 2 through the ages of pre-K.
Yeah, like 4.9.
4.9 to be exact. So you know, if you're a 2-year-old, you know, the first thing that happens is we sit you down. You go through a 5-day PCM course. There's evaluations. I think we had Joe and Judy. You may have gotten a phone call. We had a parent who called and says, "They're teaching PCM to my 4-year-old." And I think Joe or someone, "No, they're not." And so then they come with me, "Why are you teaching PCM to a 4-year-old?" We're not. It's a misinterpretation. So one of the things that we will do in the learning plan with the parents is we will say to them, here's some beneficial things to do. It may be beneficial to play with them, to ask them questions, to care about them, or to tell them. And you'll notice those are the channels, and we've substituted that language for young ones, okay? And so if I'm having a learning planning meeting, which we do 4 times a year with the parents at a minimum, this is what it looks like, the language that we'll use with those parents. So one time, I had a mother come to me, and she says, and it was very similar to Susan's story, I love my son, and I hug him, and I want to be around him, and I touch him, and I lick him, and I do all these things, and he's not responding. And so I went in, and I went in, and I hugged him, and I licked him, and it didn't work. She was right. So I looked at him for like 30 or 45 seconds, and he had no harmonizer bar. He was all thinker, right? And so I was able to say to her, what I want you to do is stop. Stop. And she'd gone through PCM, so I was able to use this, stop using the nurturative channel with your son. Stop touching, stop hugging, stop this, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you at the end of the day to ask your son questions. Ask him what he did. Ask him how his day went. Ask him what he wants for dinner, for lunch, or whatever it is. And I want you to, at all costs, not show emotion while you're asking these questions. The next day, she said they had the best night. He went to bed. He didn't throw corn at her, or whatever it was that they were having problems. It all went away because she was using the wrong channel, and we're able, and I've got hundreds of these stories, but in the ECE, this is an example of what we talk through with parents. The other thing is we really talk about environmental preferences. You can't see it right now because our school's kind of torn down and because people are moving classrooms and things like that, but every classroom is built so that each child has their environmental preference, so that they can be alone, they can be with large groups, they can be with their clique, their crew, they can do all that. And so when the staff member is talking with the parents, we talk them through these environmental preferences. And we say, look, when you ask your son or daughter questions without emotion and you have them with one other student, they thrive. When you use the nurturative channel and hug and touch them and then have them in big groups, you're going to have behavior problems. And I don't remember who I was talking with this about last night, but it really takes it depersonalizes it. Because it's not about you, it's not about them, it's just about how to best connect. Okay? So this is what our young kids are getting, 2, 3, all the way up to 4.9. Okay? That's a firm cutoff. If you're 4.91, we kick you to kindergarten. It's just, so any questions about this? Yes?
How do the parents respond?
So the parents respond outstanding when they don't have their mask on. The parents, a parent may get some of this before going through the training. So they may have to go through in November, and their first learning plan meeting is in October. And so this language helps with that. And so they know that they're going to get it. The parents are overwhelmingly, 99% of them are bought in. What's really interesting is I will have staff members, they'll schedule a meeting with me. I was thinking, Stacy's like, okay, Jeff, I've got this rebel-faced promoter mother, and she's in distress, and she's coming to do her learning plan, and her daughter's a rebel in distress, help me. And we strategize. And it's fascinating to have that conversation about process in the moment, because now what we have is we have teachers meeting people's psychological needs during that learning plan. And all of a sudden, the parents will come out and they'll say, you know what, I just had a great meeting with Stacy. And we don't really talk about PCM, we just use it in that moment. Any other questions? All right, my joke here is I'm either really, really thorough or really, really boring, and my cognitive distortions lead me to believe that I'm really, really thorough. Okay, next. This is our elementary school, and so it's like 4.10 or whatever, 4.925 or whatever it is. So this would be kindergarten through 5th grade. We're ratcheting it up a notch. In the learning plan, now these parents have all gone through PCM, okay? So in the learning plan, you get their channel. What are the channels that they do really well with? Is it the nurturative and the emotive? And this is what we really start to do. And we really start to use that and express that. Sometimes we even take video of this, if the parent permits, to show how this is working. What currencies? Next year, we're going to put currencies in every classroom. So if they're working on leopards, we'll have data and information about leopards. We'll have opinions about leopards. We'll have some fun pictures of leopards. We'll have maybe a picture of a leopard by himself eating alone an antelope or something. But we're going to start putting currencies in the classroom. One of the things that I am starting to evolve in my own thinking is the concept of personality discrimination, especially when it comes to currencies, and how really in education, and I think Joe and Judy have got some research about, and Mike, about if teachers have a different personality than the student, that affects their grades, and that's discrimination. And I think that takes place at currency. Yes, thank you. And then distress. What does their distress look like? Do I blame? Do I attack? Do I droop? We talk through that. Environmental preferences. And then what we really do in the elementary program is what are the currencies that do not work? What do you have to stay away? Like what I did with that parent. Do not hug your child for the love of Buddha. Okay? And that last one there is probably the one that the parents are most interested in. What can I stay away from? Because it's very easy for them to maybe stop doing one thing than to do some of these others. Okay? So this is what's built into the elementary school students' learning plan. Yes, Rebecca?
Just to be really specific and thorough.
Please.
The elementary starts with early kindergarten, so we do have, that's where that 4.9.
4.9 to 5th grade. Right.
I just thought you might want me to point that out.
Yeah, no,
I'm just being observant.
No, I appreciate that. And if there's any other mistakes I make, please point them out in front of everybody.
I am keeping it.
Yeah, everybody did that. Okay, and the middle school, if you'll pull up our middle school, this is really simple because in middle school, we get a key to kids. And so every child does the Key to Kids. It's a little bit complicated because you wait till you're 12, so sometimes you may have to wait till October or November. But every middle school student does that. That Key to Kids is in their learning plan. And what happens with our middle school is we start each year with a 1-week-long outward bound trip where Jay takes the entire middle school kids and he takes them for a week and they hike, they rappel, and then they come back on Friday. And they're gone an entire week. And Jay has every child's Key to Kids. And last year I was able to go with him and we had them all right there with us. And we were able to go through and he had a fantastic week and it was just amazing to be able to use that PCM tool every single day while they're camping and be able just to predict where kids are going to get into problems. So at this level, kids start to we get very sophisticated, we get very transparent. We don't use PCM language with them, but we will use things like, you really do better alone. Or when you're working with so-and-so, ask Johnny questions and don't play with Johnny. And we start to teach some of these concepts without the PCM, but just using the lingo to help them interact and engage. Parents get the Key to Kids. So when the parents are going through their training, they've got their profile and they've got their son or daughter's profile. Okay? Yes, sir.
Which question are you using for this?
Thank you for that question. Key to Kids. No, it's the 25-item question that you can take from between the ages of 12 and 16. Yeah. It takes, on average, about 10 minutes for kids to take that. What we do here is you can take that at home, but we have a computer laboratory that we will let kids take, and they can take it here if they want to. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, the final one is the accountability plan. This is, we've done this for about 2 years, and we've made some tweaks to this. This is just the nuts and bolts of it that's in for the PowerPoint. So you work with a group of 3 or 4 people. And what I do is, so I'll get with Susan and Rebecca. And then I share with Susan and Rebecca, here's some stressors. This Jeff King is really stressing me out. I really can't handle him. He makes me be here at 8:30. What's stressing you out at MUSE? And I'm going to share that with Rebecca and Susan. And then I ask for their feedback and ask how they have experienced my distress. What do you see from me? When I'm walking down the road, when I'm in the classroom, how have you experienced my distress? What does it look like? Because although you might be a thinker and I might be a thinker, it's going to have a little bit of a different of a thinker flavor. Okay? So we talk that through. What does it look like? What do you see? And then the 3 or 4 of us, we come up with an action plan to negotiate those stressors and to get our psychological needs met. So as a rebel phase, I may say to Susan, when you see me, just give me a little what up, give me a high five, or play with me. Or if I ever just want to go on a walk, can I just come grab you and go on a walk? Without saying I'm in distress, can I just say, hey, let's go take a 5-minute walk? So we come up with this action plan so that I can get my needs met, and this small group of people that I'm working with, they can also get their needs met. And so we're taking that level of transparency. And this is amazing. We do this twice a year, at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, and they work through that plan through the year. And this is a way, it's amazing to watch some of these pods work together as they're talking through their distress. And they're talking through how to deal with parents, talking how to deal with different students that invite them to go into distress. And this is how we hold people accountable for getting their needs met. Yes? As a phased rebel, I do a little thing I like to call laissez-faire. You meet with whomever you want to meet with. We don't have any control over that. So there might be a group that just says, can it be just the 3 of us? And there might be someone that say, can we have a group of 5? Yeah. Yes?
And what's the accountability? How does that work?
The accountability is, so if that group I meet in the beginning, I still meet with them at the end. And if I see that person in distress, I may say, hey, have you talked this through with your accountability group? Have you been meeting with them? And those 2 people, so Susan and Rebecca are accountable to me and I'm accountable to them. And during this planning session, I will say, will you do X, Y, and Z with me to help keep me out of distress? And that's also then put into their evaluation plan that they followed through with their accountability plan. and they met with their people. And what happens is all of this is documented on paper and then sent to me, and then that way we can put that in their evaluations. Yes?
Do you ever divide the students by their personality types, like all of the rebels here, all of the harmonizers here, all of the imaginers here? Do you ever do specific teaching to those groups?
Yes and no. We don't ever divide it in like that distinctly or that organized, but we may say if these two rebels working best in their environment want to do X, Y, and Z, we let them do that. But we'll never say, okay, you guys sit here and you guys sit here. One of the things we do is teach the personality diversity, so we may have a rebel hang out with an imaginer and give them a project to work on so that they can learn to appreciate one another. And they naturally, with the 4 learning environments, will go be with one another. But we never do it in that kind of organized way. Good question. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you ever attempt to set bigger up bigger teachers?
We have not. No. Do we ever set imaginer teacher with an imaginer student? So what we do is it's really more about awareness. So one of the things, Evelina, she will talk about her imaginer-based daughter. If we have a teacher who's really good at working with imaginers, we may have that teacher work with her, but she may not be an imaginer-based. It's kind of hard to find imaginer-based teachers. I don't know if you guys have found that. They're tough to come by. We have an imaginer phase teacher in the 5th grade. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Can you give me an example, Jeff, please, how you would say it, giving me feedback as to how you experienced my distress?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give me an example how you would say it?
Yeah. So I would say you're a rebel phase. And I would say, Werner. Don't you feel his rebel coming out? So let's pretend that Werner is a rebel's a phase. I would say, so during staff meetings, what I experience from you is when Jeff's talking, you make these sarcastic comments, and then when someone asks you a question about it, you say, never mind. That's what I see you do during staff meetings. If you're a thinker base or phase or whatever, I may say something like, what I see you doing is you make things really complicated and you're overthinking things, and I'm getting emails that are 4 paragraphs from you. And that's how I'm experiencing your distress. So I'm gonna pitch that distress to your flavor. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Early on. So have you ever experienced a situation where you have people in through, groups, and maybe some people that are kind of not getting on the bandwagon, they get in a group and then it becomes a negative meeting,
Yeah.
especially when they're sharing stressors, and how do you
Yeah.
prevent that or navigate?
So here's what I would do. I would never do this within your first year. So what I would do is I would slowly integrate people and first do the trainings and then have every other week have a meeting and talk it through with the students. This is something that we're 8 years old. This just started in year 7.
And this is something you do with the adults, right?
This is the teachers, yeah. Now you can go faster than we did, but I would never start off right with this. Start off with a conversation, because you really want to get buy-in. My big word, you're going to hear me say it a lot this weekend, is integration. You want to get it integrated into the fiber, yeah.